Hey guys, I am going to teach you all how to use Ableton, which is a designated audio workspace. You can use this program to make full tracks and songs. It's an incredibly complex program, but we're going to go through the basics and we're going to learn how to make a 16-bar loop. We're going to look at using audio samples. We're going to look at using the MIDI controllers, synths, and other external third-party plugins. And by the end, you will all be able to use these skills to create your own 16-bar loops. First, I'll highlight some of the key things to look at. You have your audio tracks, your MIDI tracks, these are your return tracks, and your master track. You can add new audio tracks by right-clicking and selecting add new MIDI track, add new audio track, or add new return. This is where you place sound samples. This is the volume for each track. You don't want it to exceed 0. So to stop sounds from peaking, you will want to lower everything down before you start placing your audio samples in. Over here is where we find all the audio samples. There are stock ones provided by Ableton. You can also have your own audio effects. I've got a pretty extensive library, which I've bought over the years or been given to by friends and fellow producers. There's all manner of sounds, lots of drum samples. Some more complex sounds like this. As well as single drum hits, such as this. There's also plenty of audio effects. I'm talking pads, pianos, and so forth. So let's start by dropping a few down. You click and drag on the audio sample and place it onto the audio track, like so. To duplicate, you highlight the area you want to duplicate and hit Control D. So you can see I have the same bass drum kick. So we'll add a clap in the same way. You can shorten the audio sample. So again, I'll use the Control D hotkey to duplicate this. And in a split second, we have the very basics of a beat. If you look down here, this is an audio effect called the Spectrum Analyzer, and it gives you an understanding of where each sound lies on the frequency scale. So you can see the kick is really low and bassy, and the clap's much higher. Spectrum Analyzer is a key element in creating a music. You don't want too many sounds occupying the same space on this frequency table. If you layered too many kicks at the same low frequency over each other, you'd have a really muddy, disgusting sound. So a big part of producing is about keeping the space with audio effects. Some other audio effects, this is where you find them here. In the same place you'll find these samples on this sidebar. Reverb, as you can hear, creates space. This dry wet meter essentially affects how little and how much you have. Erosion is another audio effect. It manipulates the sample, kind of distorts it and crushes the bit rate. Just gives the illusion of textures. You can make more interesting sounds. The ping pong delay is a good one. It essentially just duplicates the sound and creates echoes. So you can play around with all the variables here, make some really interesting sounds. And again, the feedback and dry wet meter allow how little or how much you want this effect to be applied. So by clicking this S here, see how it becomes highlighted blue? I've now soloed the track. And notice you can't hear the kick drum. So the EQ, another audio effect, You'll notice it looks a lot like the spectrum analyzer. It shows you the frequency table again. The EQ is maybe one of the most important effects you can have in Ableton, as it gives you complete control over the sounds. So if I use a low pass filter, this is called, I can cut off the low end sounds. As the kick drum is mostly a low end sound, you'll notice that by removing that sound, the kick drum almost becomes non-existent. You can raise the sound, so this makes it louder. You'll hear it's more distorted. So the EQ is essential in sort of giving you complete control over the sounds. So a MIDI track, you can apply the same way you would an audio file by clicking and dragging onto the track. Of course, you have to drag it onto the MIDI track, not the audio track. Ableton has some inbuilt MIDIs. Ableton has some stock ones. Serum is one I use. It's really good, but the program itself is really extensive and would take a series of tutorials to explore in itself, so we won't go too far into this. You can see a piano keyboard down the bottom here, where you can key your notes. So let's try record some things. So you have your play, stop, and record button up here. Hit record. I'll hit a few notes as it plays. It's all very rough. Hit stop. And now the recorded track has appeared on the MIDI track down here. So by clicking on it, you can go in and adjust and draw the notes, change the key they hit at, correct any errors you may have made while recording, or completely draw in the keys yourself. So these things we've explored from the MIDI track, the audio track, if you select effects and samples, where to find them on the sidebar, and how to apply them and basically adjust them, are some key principles that you need for creating your 16-bar loop and essentially creating an entire song. By knowing these, it's a good starting platform to begin making your own music, which we'll explore doing in the following videos. Thank you.